This week's episode of Getting Grown is brought to you by Talkspace. Talkspace is the online therapy company that believes therapy should be affordable, confidential, and convenient. You can join the growing group of 500,000 people who are working with their licensed therapists through Talkspace today. To sign up or to learn more, go to Talkspace.com/grown. That's Talkspace.com/GROWN. Talkspace, therapy for how we live today. Okay.
When I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall, and in the back of my mind, I hear my conscience call, telling me I need a girl who's as sweet as a dove. Something, 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 something. That's where I need love.
Do you know the words at least?
I knew them about 90% of them.
I'm concerned with the 10% that you didn't know.
But you didn't chime in. You didn't save me. Where is the loyalty again?
I didn't know any of the words, so I thought it would be best for me to be quiet.
Well, I sang it because this is the episode about dating. Welcome back to Getting Grown.
Hey, niggas. Praise the Lord, everybody.
Praise the Lord, niggas.
Yeah. I don't know where all those us came from. Welcome back to Getting Grown with Jade and Keia, where we discuss all things adulting and how we are not really doing the best job at it, but we out here trying and everything like that right there.
A for effort.
Yeah, man, I like A's. A is my blood type.
I think mine is O. But
That's
I don't
what's
know.
up.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, girl.
I think it's O. I think it's
You could
O.
totally be making that up, though.
No, I for real think it's O.
All right.
That ass. How are you, sis?
You know, I'm yet alive. I am doing okay. And yeah, I'm here and happy to be here for episode 22.
I got to see your face all in my space this weekend. That made me really happy. All in my personal space. I always miss my sister's face.
Oh my God. I see you all the time. I see you at least once weekly when we do the show.
But it's just not the same as me getting ready, like being able to love up on you, smother you a little bit on the couch. Drink a Frosé.
We had a good time. We had a good time. Shout out to the Frosé. Shout out to the queen of Frosé, Crystal Jean.
Crystal Jean. West.
Crystal Jean Renee West. We give
Why you give her niece's middle name?
Because that's what
that's a black girl name.
That. Take called her that today. Crystal Jean Renee West. And I said Crystal Jean Renee Shantae. Forgetting about the West part, but we'll just go with Crystal Jean Renee West right now.
We can make her West Indian and give her like 3 middle names. It's cool.
It is cool. So yeah, it was good to be back in my city for the Friend Zones live. The second year anniversary of the Friend Zone. It was an excellent time there at the Tisch Auditorium at the new school on Saturday. Shout out to everyone who was so nice and so pleasant and so encouraging to myself and Jade.
Beautiful.
It was just so awesome to get a chance to talk to y'all. Is somebody like throwing spoons over there? What's going on?
It's Tristan. Babe.
It's okay. It's fine. I just didn't know what was happening. I wanted to make sure you was all right.
Me neither.
Ciao. Oh, but yeah, shout out to the Friend Zone. It was an awesome show. Shout out to Kid Fury and Crystal for being amazing hosts. And shout out to Destin, Friend, and Asante for an amazing show.
It was amazing. And like Keia said, thank you to everybody who was so supportive and so nice and so sweet. And shout out to the people who asked the questions.
Yeah, shout out to y'all. That's what's up. You asked really good questions. And shout out to the young man from Talkspace.
Yes,
who was there to assist in the Q&A portion. So it's awesome to be a part of really cool things. And I was really honored to be a part. So again, shout out to Destin, Friend, and Asante for their amazing content and their success for having 2 years worth of fantastical shows. And shout out to everyone who came in support of them. From what I understand, there are going to be more live Friend Zones in cities across the country really soon. So you guys keep your eyes and ears peeled for the announcements and things of that nature.
Through the end of the year. So yes, definitely pay attention.
Don't miss the bus, children.
Yeah.
So how are you, sis? We talked about my little raggedy life. What's going on with you?
Nothing. I mean, it was pretty much the same as yours this weekend, plus some additional work. But that's nothing new. And then we went back to work today.
Yeah,
Fun times in the city.
That's what it is.
Fun times in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and shout out to all the love from the friend zone from the episode last week. You guys received me.
You're famous.
Beautifully.
Awesome.
No.
Yes.
But Fran told me about a lot of emails and stuff. She got stuff that I didn't get to see of people who told her I helped them to like rethink their entire decision about getting married and having kids. You know what I'm saying? We just out here, just trying to Black Lives Matter, saving Black lives all over the place. We just don't want y'all to jump into nothing too crazy. So I'm really honored to have been a part of that discussion and to be a part of an episode that was so well received. And you guys were nothing but beautiful. There were no negative comments, and I really appreciate that. And I appreciate them for having me.
Yes. You out here.
So, sis, shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
My sis is popping right now. Like,
shout out to my sis. Shout out to the ladies from last week.
Indeed. Shout out to all the ladies from last week. I can't think of her name right now. Jesus. The pedagogist, pedagogist, I believe is her name on Twitter.
Yes.
And she, the young lady with the book drive, I believe in the Delta in Mississippi, she was trying to get 1,000 books for her third grade class. She actually exceeded her goal, and was very appreciative of our assistance. I think she was a lot closer to her goal, than we thought, than when we first looked. But thanks to everyone who reached out, everyone who made a donation. It's amazing what we can do when we all work together. So I'm sorry, sis, that I can't think of your first name right now. I know your name on Twitter is at pedagogist, PEDAGOGILIST, I believe is her name. I hope I'm spelling that correctly, but if not, I will put it in the description box. And shout out to everyone who helped her to reach her goal and to get these babies reading for this academic year.
Absolutely. And our shout out to my sis this week comes from Rashonda. She says, "Hey, Keia and Jade, I love this show and have been listening since episode 1. Aww. I'd like to shout out to Keia. Hey,
that's my name.
Wallace. Hey. Yes, it is. The creative behind Brown Girls Do Ballet. She's a photographer, mompreneur, and out here showing amazing brown girls in the world of ballet. She raises money for scholarships to help young dancers further their training, and her work is amazing. You can find her at browngirlsdoballet.com or at browngirlsdoballet on Instagram. You can also find her on Facebook under Brown Girls Do Ballet. Please shout out all the amazing work she's doing. Thanks so much." So shout out to you. Make sure you guys check out browngirlsdoballet.com. If you're looking to make a donation or to see what they're all about, definitely check it out, and we'll put the link in the description box.
Yeah, I follow this Instagram post. I've been following them for quite some time, and it's awesome, beautiful, really amazing images of Black and brown people engaged in the art of ballet, mainly women, but here recently, there have also been a lot of little brown boy ballet dancers that have been featured, which I think is pretty flipping cool. So my namesake, Keia Wallace. Hey, my fellow Keia. All right, girl, you're out here doing amazing things because, we're built that way.
That's right.
So, yeah, shout out to Keia Wallace and all that she's doing. And please do your best to support browngirlsdoballet.com. Let's get these babies help these babies to continue to thrive in their art, and feed and fuel their passions, because we've got to have representation no matter what.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you, Rashonda, for writing in.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's time for us to gather around the kitchen table yet again for some grown folks conversation. Before we do that, sis, are you snacking on anything in particular on tonight?
Fruit. I got fruit from one of those stands, somebody from a farm, and got some peaches and some cherries, and I bought some local wild honey. So I drizzled a little bit of that on the peach. It's delicious.
You always got to have a little white woman in there somehow, some way.
Just a tinge, I guess.
I guess.
What about you?
I am actually having a green smoothie, but none of my fruit came from a farm. Well, I don't want to say that. It did come from a farm, but by way of Trader Joe's.
Hey!
So I have a green smoothie here. I've made it with spinach, black seeds, mangoes, peaches, and pineapples. I also added a little ground cinnamon and some stevia, just a packet of stevia, just to give it a little bit more sweet. Because it's naturally sweet, but I just wanted a little bit of a punch. But yes, that's my smoothie. I think I needed to have this smoothie because I did not make wise food choices over the weekend. I had to deal with some difficult things, and I managed to. One of the things that helped me cope was pizza. So there we go.
And now it's okay because you're balancing it out.
I'll be on the treadmill tomorrow, but that's another conversation.
You want to hear something gross?
Not really, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
In relation to your smoothie, of course I am. So you remember when Keisha's. You remember when they had that big New Year's dinner?
Yes.
Okay. So they had that big New Year's dinner, right? They have this giant New Year's dinner, listeners. That's like the most extensive spread you've ever had in your entire life. I mean, it's amazing. And they have 1 million people in their home, and there's still, just like space to cartwheel. And So her mom calls me over and she goes, come.
Oh, no. I know what you're doing with this. You're out of pocket.
I'll leave it there.
Oh, man.
She offered me a green juice, though, for my womanly health.
Don't just so tell all the family business.
I'll leave it there. I'll save the details for the family. Just know that she offered me a green smoothie.
It wasn't
for
a
my
smoothie.
womanly
It's
health.
like a green juice.
It was a juice. A green juice.
Lord God.
For my womanly health.
Well, let's actually get to what we came here for. Today, we will be talking about first dates. Because, they happen. They're a part of life. They're a part of adult life. And I actually have some questions that we'll get to later on. But to kind of set the tone and set the pace for the conversation, Jade and I took to the internets and the interwebs and the Twitter sphere and the Facebook world and asked some questions.
Yes.
Asked you guys to chime in about your ideal first date, and B, what are some of your first date experiences, good, bad, and ugly. So we got tons of responses because you guys are amazing. And we thought that we would share.
And hilarious.
Yes, indeed. We would share some of those with you to kind of set the tone before we get into, I guess, the meat of our conversation about first dates and what's the effing point and everything like that right there. So sis, you want to start with the stories? Are you going to start with ideal first dates, or are you going to start with first date experiences, good, bad, and ugly?
You know what I want to start with before we even get into that? I want to start with Issa's first date on Insecure.
So, okay, you mean the first date with the white man?
With the white man. Because Issa's going on a lot of first date, or attempting to something.
Are these really dates so much as they're like interviews for dick appointments?
No, the one with the Spaniard was probably the only date we've seen her on, right?
Right, but I feel like they're all like, she's just trying to get niggas into the hotation.
Yeah, she is. She clearly stated that's what she was doing.
Right, but I mean, we can talk about it.
But she did go on a date.
I mean, but yeah, we can talk about it. If that's what you like to do, let's do it.
So what did you think of her date? I want to know your thoughts.
I don't really have any thoughts about Issa's date. I thought she was being very, it was just very clear. I mean, okay, I can't say that she was extremely proactive and purposeful, and I felt like her intentions were, very, very apparent. And what she was trying to get at with this Spanish man. It was a little awkward to watch because I mean all things are awkward with Issa. This is why I love her so much. But I mean, I didn't have no major issues with it. I thought that they seemed to be engaged with one another. Yeah.
Oh, well.
I feel like they seem to be engaged with one another. Although I was a little thrown by him turning her down. Well, not thrown, but I don't know. I don't know what's him turning her down to, like, she said she was down to keep hanging out, and he was just like, I got to get up early.
I have to get up early.
Yikes. So he kind of curved her a little bit, but I don't feel like it broke her stride at all. I think she still left feeling pretty good about herself. But what did you think?
Well, that threw me too. That was the one thing where I was like, oh, not saying that he has to say yeah. And you can tell he kind of cleaned it up when he came back. He was like, oh, but this gives us an excuse to do this again.
Yeah, but that's not
I was wondering,
nigga speak for, you know,
it did.
I don't want you to know how actually how much of a terrible person I am. Like, actually.
Because you know I speak nigga. So I was like, he's just really trying to clean this up right now. He's just trying to make sure that she doesn't feel bad because he could tell that she felt bad. And she perked up real quick because Issa's got a lot of confidence right now.
She does.
So much confidence, so much so that she's just wilding all over the place. Her attitude is just like very dismissive, and it's interesting to watch. So I'm anxious to see where they go with that.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about dates,
get humbled.
We're going to talk about dates. Think back to Molly's date with this dude that she really don't like. What are your thoughts about him and their interaction?
What I told my husband when we were watching it, I was like, and he said the same thing. She wants to like this dude because on paper, he's everything that she wants. Like, he's perfect on paper. And this is everything that she hoped for and wished for all through season 1.
I know all about that.
And he's all into her and everything.
Yeah.
But
she don't like him.
She just don't like this nigga. She just don't.
Strumming my pain.
She's just not attracted to him.
She's not singing my life with these words. Okay. I know all about that, Molly. But
it is killing me softly.
I mean, I think that's a lot. I mean, there's a whole nother conversation there because we often, I don't want to say we, but I guess I can say we because I can relate to this.
Can say we.
But often find myself in situations where it's like, I know, I can think the last person that I could say that I don't even want to say I dated him. We went on a couple of dates. But it wasn't like I don't know. When I think of him, I don't think of him as a guy that I dated, even though technically we did go on dates. So I guess he is a guy that I dated, but that's neither here nor there. I guess I'm just strange that way. But I can honestly remember seeing him and thinking about him like in the way like, you know, there's nothing wrong with this dude. Like, nothing wrong with him in that he's a solid dude. Like, he's not terrible. Like, he's not a terrible person. He's gainfully employed. He seems ambitious. He seems, you know, to have all of the characteristics that I say that I would like to have, the qualities. He possesses the qualities of a person who I say that I would like to be in a relationship with. But I can honestly remember, like, the last time that we went out, there happened, like, I had like a moment of clarity where we were sitting there talking and he was talking and we weren't, it wasn't even like I was having a bad time, but I absolutely remember looking at him and being like, I don't even like this. Like something literally just clicked and it was just like, you know, I don't care for this. Like, he's a good dude. It wasn't even that he wasn't cute or anything, but I remember looking at, he was sitting beside me at the time and I turned and I looked at the side of his face and I was just like, nothing about me wants to, like, I'm okay. Like, I was just, and I felt terrible because it was like, this is a decent dude. Like, there's nothing wrong with this dude. But I totally was just like, I'm ready to go right now. Like literally.
I know. I had a similar experience. So I'm taking it you never called this nigga again?
I did kind of fade the black on him. I did. He's like, Dude.
And nigga, if you all don't speak, nigga, that means she ghosted him.
Not intentionally. Like, it wasn't like I was ignoring him, but life would just so happen to work out that the times that he reached out to me to go out, I actually had other things to do. I had other plans, and then we would just never got around to rescheduling. And then, you know, the times that we interacted became less and less frequent. And I happen to believe that was the Lord's way of saying that this was not something that I needed to focus my time and attention on. Although I felt like, you know, on paper and in theory, this young man was a decent young man, but he said a couple of things and did a couple of things. It was just like, that like turned me off. And I know that I have to be flexible and all of that, but I just felt like I just came to a point where I was like, there's no real turning back here. Like, I can't really bend anymore. Like, I don't care for this dude. Like, the chemistry just was not there.
It's just not there.
It just wasn't there.
You can tell, and that's how it is with Molly. You can tell. You can completely tell that she's just not. Even when he put his arm around her, she just like tensed up.
Like,
there was nothing comfortable about it. She didn't fall into him.
Smiles with no teeth. Where you just be like,
Sometimes you show a little gum.
But I just, I could totally relate. But why do you think, I mean, this is totally not about first dates, but I guess it's all relevant. But why do you think that we feel like we have to, why do you think we feel like we find ourselves in these situations where we're just trying to make something work when it's clearly not working?
Because I think it's kind of like the same thing where we've talked about the mentality, you know, as Black people, like with getting jobs and thinking that we have to. And I think we talked about this our first episode or really early on, where we feel like we, you know, have to be grateful for what we get. And I think sometimes when it comes to situations like these, we try to really talk ourselves into it, because it's like, I really asked for all of these things. Like, I really asked for this type of person on paper, but I just really just don't like this nigga. And I feel really bad. And you try to make yourself like this nigga, but you just don't really like this nigga like that.
And I think the lesson there, which really was a light bulb for me, it was just like, sis, what you think you like and what you think you need, you don't really like. You don't even know those things. You don't even like the things that you thought were like super important, like the fact that this nigga was, you know, an MBA, or he had, you know, like, or, you know, that he was, you know, I don't even know. Like, I mean, he was, you know, he was cute. He wasn't tall enough, but he wasn't short. Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
And you know, that's a big thing. I know I'm superficial, and y'all can feel free to call me all kinds of
do not care.
Yeah, all kinds of trash, but I'm just here and I can only be myself. He was not like, I felt like I had to talk myself into be physically attracted to him. Like, it's nothing wrong with
that's
him.
A problem.
Like, you know, it's not, but nothing in me like stood up straight when I saw that nigga. Like, whoa, yes, like the way that
yes, this nigga is fine.
Yes, like the one time recently, I had the honor and privilege, Lord Jesus, to see Jay Ellis in person. Like, I saw Lawrence in person, and I would just like to take this opportunity to say that Jay Ellis is he is unreasonably attractive. Like, I've never in my African American life. Because what you don't know, this is what I didn't realize from watching Insecure. Like, I knew that Lawrence was tall, but I didn't realize how tall Lawrence was. And
he's tall.
Lawrence is like so wonderfully tall, but he's tall and like, cause I mean, tall doesn't stand alone, but tall in conjunction with other amazing qualities is like will really set you to the next level of your, you know, amazingness. I'm making up words, but cause Dro, like the married dude that Molly's dealing with, he's unreasonably tall too, but nothing about him is attractive to me. I asked the question on Twitter today because it seemed like everyone was talking about how fine Dro was, and I was just like, did I miss the bus? Let me clean my glasses, cause I don't see it. Sis?
Oh shit, my thing was muted. I'm like, no, you did not miss the bus. You are not standing at the bus stop alone. The curly, pretty thing is just not really.
Oh man,
It's just not really my
But Jay
thing.
Ellis has a combination of things. He's got great height. He's got great teeth. He's got a dimple that you can literally sit down in. Like you can put a love seat inside that man's dimple and just rest and nuzzle in it. Like you could just nuzzle yourself right in there. And he does this weird thing. He does that thing where he like really pays attention when you talk. Like when you speak to him, like he looks you directly in your retinas. And I'm just like, Lord, somebody need to tell Jay Ellis he gotta stop looking at me in my face like this. Ha! But anyway,
Go ahead.
I'm just saying. I know that he's listen, this is just me talking out loud, but I'm saying the point of that is I did not have a Jay Ellis reaction when I looked at your boy, okay? And I feel like I deserve a Jay Ellis reaction. I work hard. I work hard. So
no, you do.
So
You shouldn't
this
settle.
is what I'm saying. So I feel like although those things are very important to me, there are other things that I thought were important in this young man on paper, like where the fact that he went to school, where he went to school, those kinds of things that that we talk about all the time, like how much money he makes, what kind of car he drives, all that stuff. Those are things that women kind of think of categorically when they're talking about the ideal partner or somebody that they want to date. And this young man had all of those qualities, and still it was not it just was not there for me. So it cost me, I mean, it's all about self-reflection and thinking back and saying like, okay, so what do I need to do differently? Maybe I need to be open to guys from other backgrounds or other, I don't know. But yeah, so
that's interesting.
Not backgrounds. I don't want to say that because I do like my chicken fried hard and I'm committed to having a black family. But
I mean, that is really the bottom line.
That's the bottom line, the top one and the one in the middle for me.
And the one in the middle. I had this one date with I met this dude in the club. That was probably the first problem.
And it was dark. It was dark in there. You was probably drunk.
It was dark and I was drunk. So, and I'm going to tell you how drunk I was. Me and my friend fell asleep in the diner.
That is the makings of a night of terrible decisions. But carry on. Good times.
That's also how well, we'll get to that. But so this dude, met him in the club, drunk, dark, and he was really nice, right? I worked in music at the time. He was in TV production. We had great conversation. You know what I'm saying? He was really, really nice. But I had a tendency back in the day to Jerry Seinfeld. A lot of these niggas, and if you're not familiar with Seinfeld, which is I love actually, Seinfeld is he has a tendency to pick apart people. You watch Seinfeld, sis?
Yeah.
So he has a tendency to pick people apart. So I had a tendency to do that. And this nigga, so we went out. I tried to do the 2-date thing. Like I went on the first one and it just wasn't hitting right for me. But I did the thing that my sister just talked about where I was like, all right. Like he's a good dude. Like, he has an interesting job. We have a nice conversation. He's really, really nice. All right. Yeah. And he's fine. He's okay looking. You know what I'm saying? He's all right. Like he's not hard on my eyes. And then I just couldn't stop staring at like the hoop in his nose.
Oh, he had a nose ring.
He had a nose ring and like a really big back.
Or like a nose ring?
No, like my nose ring. And like in a wide back with really skinny
I love
legs.
a good back. But this is not the good back.
No, sis. This was like he was shaped like Despicable Me.
Okay, good night.
But like I didn't see that. But on the low key version, so I didn't really see it in the club because it was dark. But then he had on this like striped shirt, which was it was awful. Oh, it was an awful shirt. I don't know why he ever thought he should put that on his body.
Attire is important.
But it's so key. Don't wear horizontal. That's the ones that go across, right? Yes. It was.
Oh, Savior God.
You did not honey me. He had on a striped black and white horizontal shirt.
And
like
he
it
had
was
a wide
very
back,
ugly.
and he had on horizontal stripes.
And he had a wide back with like love handles and skinny legs.
Bless his heart.
You know what I'm saying? So, and a hoop in his nose. And I was like, well, after the second date, I was like, I just can't keep looking at this. Like, I just can't keep doing it. So, needless to say, I ghosted him. I was also in my mid-20s.
I mean, I think there's a time. I mean, everyone has a story like that, right? So
yeah, I ghosted him. And then I told y'all the story about your poodles,
yes,
right?
God, we don't have to relive that.
Also met him in the club. Drunk. Stop meeting niggas in the club drunk.
That's actually a good segue to our conversation, what we are supposed to be talking about while we're over here rambling about other things. But y'all will continue to indulge us. We appreciate you.
Yes.
So sis, okay, let me get my last steps together. So what makes a day, a great first date, amazing? What were some of the things that the people were saying? So people talked a lot about intimate settings with lots of talking and really good chemistry and great conversation. People said a lot about doing things outdoors, being creative and selecting date activities, good food and comfortable atmospheres. Those are the qualities of amazing dates. Common interests, so going to bookstores, or people like intentional dates expressing, you know, if a date showing evidence that he's listened to you and what you like to do and incorporating your wants and desires into the date. Laughs and lots of laughs, like sense of humor was mentioned like 72,000 times, which is, I mean, y'all are my kind of people. Because, I mean, if it's not, if you're corny, like, let me tell you something. I've said this my whole life, but like, I feel like funny dudes win for so many reasons. Like, funny
every
dudes
time
literally can talk you right out of your drawers if you're not careful, because you'd be like, he just had me dying. Like, if you make me laugh, like, I can overlook certain things. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could
yeah, no, you can chuckle
them
panties
panties
right
down. Like, not even exaggerating. Like, funny dudes win all the time. Like, especially if we have really that connection. And this is another thing, not to totally make this about me, but y'all know that I'm silly and I don't necessarily try to be funny, but people laugh at me. Well, I'm saying, like, people laugh at me, but I can't say that I intentionally like sit home and be like, I'm gonna say this and they're gonna laugh, but I'll just be talking. But at the same time, I like to laugh too. So it is certainly an issue for me if we go out on any kind of date and I'm the only one. I mean, you the only one laughing. I'm gonna feel some kind of way. I feel like the laughing like got to be reciprocal. Like, you got to make me laugh too. If you are laughing, slapping your knees and like literally laughing from your belly, I want you to have me laughing from my belly as well.
Absolutely, because this is not one-sided.
I mean, yeah.
Like, this is not a comedy club, my nigga. Like,
yeah, people said things like, you know, a lot of things, good activities came up. People like to go on walks, like to go to museums. Lounges with live music came up quite a few times. Whit in Stiletto said, I love a man that can crack jokes and takes time to plan the first date. Like, planning is also absolutely key. And I want you to, like, show me that you've paid attention to what I said, and don't assume. I don't like cliches. Don't assume that all girls love picnics. I don't want to sit in the grass.
No,
I don't want to sit in the grass. So get to know whoever that you're dating, so that you don't have her doing something that she don't want to do. Like, man, I don't like dogs, and I've had a young man offer to take me to the dog park on the first date. And I'm just like, sir, what are we going to do? Like, isn't the point of going to the dog park, like walking the dog that you have? Like, I don't have a dog and you don't either. Why are we going to the dog park? Like,
why the fuck are we going
God,
to the dog park? Oh my you look like two creeps. Two people who go sit in a dog park and don't have a dog. You look like somebody who's at a playground with no kids. Man.
Come on. But yeah, This is not, let me just calm down and keep reading, because this is totally not about like what I like and don't like. That's pretty much it. I tried to I went through them and tried to consolidate them. Sis, I'm going to let you start in on what some of our faithful listeners shared about their good and bad first dates, and then we'll get to some of the questions that I have.
Okay, so let me tell you all, I had a hearty chuckle reading some of these.
Really did.
Reading some of these first date experiences. Some of them were really sweet, and then some of them were absolutely atrocious, and most of them were hilarious. So we had some really nice and sweet ones. Where one girl, motivational. Okay, motivational. Went to a French restaurant and the food was banging. Later had drinks and went our separate ways. He was a perfect gentleman that night, and she made the straight face. So I'm taking it that she was on her Issa and she really didn't want him to be a gentleman that night. That is what I gathered from that. You guys are more than welcome to tweet her and ask her if that's what she meant. This one was really fucked up. She said, I had a guy tell me he was going to the bathroom and he left our date. I called him and he said, I thought you'd be prettier in person. That is just trash. That was not funny to me at all. That's was just trash. I was like, that ain't nothing but
somebody's head, legit.
I mean, you left me and then you text me that raggedy ass shit. Ooh, anyway.
That's awful. Somebody needs their I'm sorry.
Somebody needs their ass beat. They need their ass beat. In the vein of also, what the fuck? Somebody said he took me to his family barbecue and he was still in the closet. What? He told them I was a friend, but tried to get some head in the house. No. That's fun. That's fun. One lady said he was he said he was 5'10". He barely came up to my chin. I'm 5'2". Strike one. Strike two. He was a dick to the server. And strike three, he was insistent on correcting the server on what an Arnold Palmer was. Oh, God.
Don't be mean to the server.
Don't be. That's really good. That's an instant turn off for me.
Indeed.
If you don't have any manners, or if you're dismissive, like if you're just nasty I don't know. And that's probably like a personal thing, but don't dismiss people like that. I don't like that. And that's going to instantly make me never want to talk to you again. Somebody else said blind date slid down the pole in the movie theater. Needless to say, I ran to catch a cab home.
Slid down the pole. Well,
why was there a pole in the movie theater? And was she on a date with Bobby?
Bobby, you see?
Yo, somebody made a meme of Bobby twerking at Makosa, because that's all Bobby does is twerk. Bobby twerked at my baby shower. Bobby twerks everywhere. And they put mood, and I sent it to him as a little boomerang, and he lived. So Bobby would love that.
You do.
Another one said, I had a guy tell me how he has bad credit, no 3 to 5 year plan, didn't know what he wanted to do for his career, and talk about his ex. So this is the thing.
Well, why would they talk? His credit score came up on the first day. Jeez,
right. That's intense. That sounds Molly-ish. This one's a doozy. So technically second date, but found out she was married to a man.
Oh, wait. So
yeah, it was a lady.
Well, okay.
It's a lady who sent us this tweet. This is so petty. We go to this Mexican restaurant. He orders beef tongue tacos. I was not ready. Why are you judging that man for what he eats? Why are you judging him? Okay. Oh, this one is bad. Not a first date, but tried some white chocolate for 7 months. That's a long time. He told me at Valentine's dinner he voted for Trump just because.
I don't believe in that white chocolate reference. Like, you dated a white man.
You dated a white man. You dated a white guy.
But who are me to judge? Okay.
You dated Ofe. Had a good date, went back to his house, then he pulls out his laptop and tries to sell me one of those vacation club memberships. He tried to sell her timeshare.
Sir, don't do that.
If you give me $169.99 tonight, I promise you that I can get you a 7-day vacation to Jamaica, and you'll get a timeshare in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Oregon, all of the hot places.
You are reading all the terrible first dates. I'm gonna. One of our readers said that she had a first date in Target, and it was amazing because she got a chance to see. She learned a lot you learn a lot about a person by how they navigate in Target. And I said, that's my kind of carrying on. I think
Yeah, no, that's smart.
that is Liddy-fi Liddy. I am down. Let's go to Target. Target is my favorite place in life.
What about the young lady who says she works at the supermarket? And her first date, she worked at the supermarket, and he worked at the supermarket, and their first dates, their dates were in the deli.
They both work at the supermarket.
I think they both worked at the supermarket. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but I'm reading the horrible first date experiences because a lot of them are funny, and just for balance. You read all the good ones. I'll read the bad ones. Somebody else said the whole time this guy said a man's not a man unless he makes six figures. Check came and he said I only have 2236. I said no problem. They take cards. He said that's on my card.
Man.
First date I had a long time ago. We went bowling, right? I scored 50 points. I mean, he scored 50 points. I scored 205. He got pissed and left me at the bowling
I saw a
alley.
loser even. I'm not.
Yo, a bitch. He was a bitch.
Loser. Like, don't be trash your whole life.
Anyway, we had a ton of really, really, really funny and engaging responses from people who told us about their first dates. You can go ahead and check out our mentions. We had a ton of really good ones. But you had some really pointed questions, sis,
well, I just
about
think,
first dates.
we don't have to get too deep into the rigmarole, but do you think it's healthy to have a sense of what your ideal first date would be? Yes or no? Like, do you like, if I say my dream date,
you know what?
And this is legit, I have always felt like the perfect day for me is going to an amusement park because I love the roller coasters. That's a way, like, I mean, it's something that you're doing. Like you're walking around, right. You're seeing people. I feel like there's a lot of conversation to be had. It would be really hard for conversation to be dry in a place like Six Flags because there's so much to see and so much to do. And roller coasters make me happy. So, yeah, and it's a good, it's just good, clean, Christian fun. And you just get the opportunity to see how someone just like is in that kind of atmosphere, which I think is important. But, that being said, I've always felt that way, like since I was a teenager, and I've never had an amazing first date at a amusement park or period, actually. But yeah, all the dates that I've been on, I've not had that date. So I guess it makes me wonder, like, what's the point of having this if I've never articulated it? Like, I've never said to anyone,
that's very true.
I want to go here. And I can sit and talk about why that be the case, but I just, wanted to know if I was the only person who'd had that and thought maybe we can talk about it just in the sense of like, what is, being an adult, being responsible for myself and what I want, not trying to be controlling or manipulative at all. Cause I definitely am not one of those people. Like, I actually prefer some people to take the lead and to plan and do those kinds of things. But, that being said, I still feel like I have to take responsibility for not speaking up and think about why I have been hesitant or reluctant to say to somebody who I've been interested in that this is what I want to do instead of, letting them be in charge and failing miserably when they plan a date that, it's not horrible, but it's not what I really want to do. So I guess that's I really kind of rolled all three of my questions into one, but I guess we can just go from there in the conversation. So go ahead.
Well, I think for me to answer your question, like, it's not really yes or no. I think it's more so like, I don't, not that it's necessarily unhealthy, because I do think that, like you said, your ideal date would be going to an amusement park, right? And having continuous conversation and having fun together. For me, that's also an ideal date, but that's more important to me with somebody who I have a connection with. So I guess I've never really placed a lot on my expectations for a first date. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, all right, I go in, it is what it is. If it's terrible, I know that it's a bad feeling. If it's a good date, I'm like, all right, I walked away with that with a good feeling, but I never go in with an expectation outside of them, like, please just be a decent person, and I hope I have a good time. Like, for instance, me and my husband, we didn't have a first date. Like, we never really had a first date. We just kind of started kicking it. And then from there, I remember we had to think about it, and we were like, oh, so the very first time that we actually like took showers and got dressed and said we were getting ready to go do A, B, C, and D, like that could have technically been our first date, but by that time we'd already been kicking it. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's been the bulk of my dating experience. I don't necessarily feel like I've been like courted in the sense that I've gotten asked out on dates and gone on dates. But as far as like the people who I've been in relationship with, it wasn't like I felt like they saw me and asked me out and got to know me in the traditional way of like going out on dates. It's always been like somebody who I've known for a really long time, and we were hanging out for an extended period of time, and then we actually we actually fell into this relationship situation after the fact, if that makes sense. But that being said, now that I am a woman of a particular age, I'm tired of that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I definitely I think I deserve at this point to have somebody be a bit more intentional. And I don't want to be, dating niggas by default no more. And I'm not judging anybody who was in that situation, because when I was in those situations, I was content and happy. And like, I didn't complain about it. But now I think I'm in a space where I would like to just have a different experience. So I don't want to make this all about me, but I'm just thinking for the people who are, for the people who maybe like me, like whose responsibility is it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and how do you strike that balance?
Right.
I'm not saying this is not going to be one of those episodes of Getting Grown where we give you guys a list of steps and this is what you do and this is how you do it. But this is more so kind of like, okay, I don't know, but just kind of throwing it out there to see, from the conversation, if we can kind of get new perspectives or think about things differently.
Well, I think for one, like I think having those expectations sometimes can be a little dangerous, because we may constantly set ourselves up there's a fine line, because you can set yourself up for disappointment because you had a very specific expectation. You know what I'm saying? But then you also have every single right to express what it is that you want. I think putting those expectations, like saying like, this is what I want to somebody for a first date, may be a little bit much. I think that comes with getting to know somebody and then making sure that they pay attention to the things that you're saying about what you prefer in a date. So yeah, I think there's a fine line, because you want to make sure that you express what you want, but you don't want to say it too soon where you're scaring somebody off. But you do have every right to express what you want, and then start taking matters into your own hands. You plan a date. You know what I'm saying? If you all know that you have an interest between each other, and this is something that you want, then plan it. Like, you be the one to initiate and be like, all right, so this is, I thought this might be something really fun. This is something that I like to do. So I'd like you to join me. And then that could open up something else. But you taking the initiative is also always an option for you to get what you want out of a date, as well as getting to know somebody.
Definitely. I think that, that's definitely something for me to consider and think about, because that's not something that I thought about before. I was sitting planning for this week's episode, and I was at Keisha's house and talking to her about it. And she actually asked me if I'd ever planned a date, and I told her no. It wasn't until she asked me that question that I was like forced to kind of sit with that, and was just like, well, girl, why not? And then think through like what some of my own reservations were. And like you said, it was probably more about like not coming off too strong, or not wanting to be like, that girl that was just like, this is how you have to date me.
Right. A pillow princess, essentially.
But I definitely feel like there is a way that I could assert myself and kind of articulate myself and express my desires in a way that's just kind of like informing the person of what I would want, versus saying, this is what you have to do. I think also I was going to say, while you were talking before, just the way that I have dated and like to date. Yes, the first date is more about getting to know the other person, because that's what dating is all about. It's a constant process of getting to know and exploring someone else's personality in the way you all interact. But I personally, I've never really been fond of, you know, you just meet somebody on the street or out and, you know, you go out with them without having had like preliminary, like I'm a phone girl. I want us to have some conversation prior to, not texting all day and half the night.
Oh no, please don't text me all day.
But I would like to have some conversation with you. And I don't know, like maybe that's, I sometimes I get the sense that is like completely unheard of. And I'm just out here expecting way too much by wanting to actually have a few conversations with a dude before we go out, because I don't know, maybe because I watch too much Special Victims Unit. I don't know. I don't like to go places with strangers. I watch way too much television. I live here by myself, and
lots of criminal
I'm
minds.
leery. I want to make sure, and you don't get to know a whole lot, and people can definitely conceal their crazy until later. But I don't know. I just like to. Like, that's why doing something like going to an amusement park or a more interactive and active kind of date is not something that's like scary for me on a first and second date situations, because if I'm going on a first or second date with you, you are not still a stranger to me. Like we have had enough conversation to where I feel like we can go to a place like that and still have a good time. But maybe that's just me and my own personal crazy little values or interests or ideas, or I don't know. That's not the word I'm looking for.
I don't think it's crazy. I don't know. I don't think that's crazy. That's your that's your preferences. But what I do think is, like, in the same vein, I like on a first date, don't take me to the movies.
Well, I mean, you know, it's a person to person thing. That's why I was saying, like, you know, I think you have to show me that you listen. And you don't assume, and you don't do cliche things that are like traditional date things. But if you know, like one of our listeners said, I'm a movie buff, so movies are my thing. I like to have a movie first date, but it can't be just the movie and we go home. Like, we have to have the movie and then we go to dinner, or we do something after that where we can debrief. And she felt like in those instances, you can discuss the movie, and that can kind of facilitate the conversation between the two of you. And I thought that made a lot of sense. But yes.
But that's also indicative of that nigga listening when they've had previous conversations.
Exactly.
So it goes right in hand with what you said. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we had conversations, and we're not saying that texting is wrong either, because we understand the age that we live in. And it's nice when you're at work or you're doing something to get a message from the person that you are interested in is interested in you. You know, when my husband and I first started dating, we did have to text a lot because we were both bartenders at the time. So I'm behind the bar, he's behind the bar. You know, we don't have the opportunity to sit on the phone. You know what I'm saying? We had to kind of text each other to have that communication. But then when we had times where we were both off, or I would get off or he would get off, then we would get on the phone like two adults and actually talk about things, so that when we got together, you know, we had constant and endless conversation. And I know a lot of people in our mentions mentioned that said that they enjoyed being able to communicate with the person on their first date. And that's really key for them. And I feel the exact same way. I think communication is super key.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. That's kind of all I got. I just thought that we've been talking for a little while, so maybe we should find a way to wrap this up. But I just thought it would be cool to think about dating as it applies and as it relates to, you know, being older and getting grown and dating as an adult versus, you know, because those your objectives and reasons for dating change the older that you get.
Exactly.
And, you know, the way that I view dating is largely different than how I was viewing it when I was 23. You know, good conversation, good food for thought to think about. If you have some ideal first dates and things that you would love to do and you've not done them, then maybe we can start thinking critically about, okay, what am I doing that's not, you know, putting me in a position to have these amazing dates that I want to have? Because I don't think that they are for nothing. Like, my little dream of having dates and, you know, at the amusement park and roller coasters and, you know, all the snacks and stuffed animals, like all that, I don't think that that's for naught. I feel like that I had that for a reason, and I got to figure out how to make that happen. one way or another before it's all over. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, and that's the thing too. Like we're seeing, you know, as we're adults, as you can hear my adulting evidence of my adulting in the background. As we're adults, you know, there are a lot who are dating, and like he has said, there are certain expectations that you have now in your life, and there are certain, you know, there are reasons why you're dating, and you don't want that to be empty. You don't want that to be like she said, for naught. And so therefore you got to take it into your own hands sometimes. And if that means you got to switch up how you do stuff, then maybe this is the time now where you start to address that, so that, you know, things might change. Maybe there's something that you're doing and that's been repetitive and hasn't been working for you in the past and will help you in the future to be able to have some different results. So it's just something for us to think about. Like my sis said, it's just something for us to address, because this is the age that we live in.
And everything like that right there, man. I think that wraps up the kitchen table. Grab your plates. Bust your section of the table.
Your plates, please.
And we'll be moving on into, I think, the honesty box.
Don't forget, today's episode is brought to you by Talkspace. Therapy can be intimidating. Releasing your private thoughts to a complete stranger can seem daunting and almost scary, but it can also bring you a woosah. And with Talkspace, you can get that relief from the comfort of your own space and on your own time. Talkspace is the online therapy company that makes it easy to connect with a licensed and experienced therapist handpicked just for you for as little as $32 a week. You can talk with your therapist whenever and wherever you are on the web or over the phone without scheduling, traveling, or worrying about your privacy. And Talkspace is 100% confidential. You can remain completely anonymous if you want. Join over 500,000 users who have experienced the relief of being able to talk to a therapist at their discretion and on their own time. And just for all you listening to Gettin' Grown, you can use coupon code GROWN on the Talkspace app to get $30 off your first month and show your support for the Gettin' Grown podcast. Get matched with the perfect therapist for you right now by going to Talkspace.com/grown. That's code GROWN for the Talkspace app, or just go to Talkspace.com/grown. Talkspace, therapy for how we live today. Okay.
Honestly?
Truly. It's time for the honesty box. All right, sis. This one's a little bit heavy. It's called My Granny Hates Me. Hey, Jade and Keia, I'm writing because I really needed to get this off my spirit. The fact of the matter is that my granny has always treated me less than my sister for my whole 21 years of life. The latest reaction was her refusal to come to Hampton for my undergrad graduation, by which I completed in 3.5 years, team typing quicker than most. I sent her an invitation and she had the nerve to lie to me and say she didn't get it. I know that was an absolute lie because every other family member in that area received their invites and the invitation was not returned in the mail. 3 days before graduation, I called to confirm everyone who I sent invites to, and she decided to unapologetically tell me she would not be in attendance. And at this point, I cried. She wasn't going to even tell me that she wasn't coming. She had decided that job was for my mother, and that hurt the most. I've never had a good relationship with my grandmother. She's even gone as far as blatantly showing my older sister more affection than she shows me. She'll constantly neglect to call me on my birthday or give my sister random gifts and writes me off saying, I didn't think you would like it. She's called me a heathen in any and everything under the sun, but for some reason I tried to give my granny the love, and of course I've always respected her because she's a Southern woman who doesn't play. Skipping the graduation was probably the last straw. She even decided to try to flip the script and tried to make her absence seem as if my family wasn't caring about her needs and feelings, but this was my day. So my natural reaction has been not to speak to her. I've been in New Jersey for the last 10 weeks for an internship and reluctantly called her for her birthday only because my mother asked. I will be home next week and I'd planned on speaking to her because, like Keia said, no one can know what you're feeling if you don't say it. But I honestly don't know how to say what I have to my granny. Again, I respect the woman she is and what she had to go through, but I'm tired of feeling like Granny's unloved granddaughter. I know I have to say something, but how do I say how I feel without disrespecting her? Or should I just let it go and charge it to her head, not her heart? Also, I'm graduating with my MBA next year and having a strong feeling to not invite her to spare myself the heartache. Signed, Graduated and Irritated. All right, sis. What do you think?
Yikes. I think that this is definitely a heavy situation. And I can definitely speak from the experience of being estranged, or a strained relationship, I should say, with a family member, and wanting to be respectful, but not wanting to, not willing to continue to be abused and mistreated. I think it's okay for you to, I don't think there is no one right or wrong way to go about expressing how you feel, in this case to your grandmother. I just think what you need to do is be prepared for her response. Be prepared for her to be receptive to what you say and apologize and, you know, be willing to make change. But also be prepared if she's not receptive and does not acknowledge or own that she has made you feel this way, or make any moves to kind of rectify or remedy your relationship. I don't know. It's super unfortunate, and I'm very sorry that you have to deal with this. But at the same time, I think a big part of getting grown and being an adult is realizing that everybody is not going to celebrate you. And unfortunately, you know, that's just the way it is. Like, you know, you want to have, and your expectation is that certain people will treat you a certain way, but you are not responsible for anybody else's behavior. And unfortunately, that's a truth that holds not only for friendships and dating relationships and relationships that we have with people outside our family, but also holds true for people who are within our family as well. So I guess my advice is, I think you should absolutely, there's no right or wrong way to say it. However you feel most comfortable, say it, whether it be you trying to reach out to her and having a conversation, you sending her a letter, or having a conversation with her with another family member present to serve as a mediator. However you feel most comfortable to have the conversation, I think you should have the conversation and just let her know how you feel in a way that she cannot deny it and say that she didn't know. And just be prepared for whatever way that she responds. It's my hope and prayer that she will acknowledge that she has been treating you poorly and apologize and make change. But it's also a very real reality that she might deny it and still continue to treat you that way. But just don't internalize her behavior at all and try to find another person. I'm sure there are other people in your family who are as supportive of you and your accomplishments, and cultivate those relationships and receive that love, and don't be so focused on the strained relationship that you have with your grandmother. I know that's easier said than done, but unfortunately, when it comes to family situations, a lot of times this kind of stuff is beyond our control. So those are my thoughts. What do you think, sis?
No, I actually 100% agree with you. I think, you know, especially if it's going to make you feel better, if this is something that you need to get off of your spirit, and it sounds like it is something that you need to get off your spirit, you have every right to say how you feel. If this person has made you feel away, family or not, you have every right to say it, and you voicing your opinion is not disrespectful. Even the way that you expressed yourself to us was not disrespectful about your grandmother. You said that you respect your grandmother, you love your grandmother, and it hurts you the way that she treats you. Now, again, I'm going to 100% agree with Keia, because she said that you don't know how she's going to respond. So make sure that you go in knowing that you're saying what you need to say and you're getting that off your spirit, but don't let that break you or hurt you when she doesn't respond necessarily in the way that you might want her to. The important thing is that you were able to express yourself. And then from there, if you got to cut ties, like sometimes family is just not, family is who you choose. You know what I'm saying? It's not always who you were given. And they're not always healthy for you. My friend told me an experience recently. He didn't know his father growing up, and he met his father, and he met his brother, and his brother came and visited him, and, you know, they had an amazing time. And then his brother came back a second time and was like, yo, you know, like, let's go out, let's have a good time, like, let's go to the club. I'm trying to meet some snow bunnies, some white girls. And so my friend was like, what? And so they get to the club. He's like, I don't really know where to go, but they figured out where to go. And they get to the club, and, you know, his brother is really like scouting out these drunk white girls. Like, he has an agenda. And there was a black girl who came up, a beautiful black girl, my friend said, who came up, and she was having a conversation with him, and he was just not paying her any mind. He was not interested whatsoever. And when she walked away, you know, he was like, yo, that girl was really beautiful and she was really feeling you, and none of these other girls are feeling you. So these girls that he was hounding down weren't even worried about him. He was like, this girl was feeling you. And the brother was like, yeah, all right. And the friend of the brother said to my friend, if he was ever to pay her any attention, that'd be the first black girl he'd ever talk to. And then they later had more conversations, and he had a negative view of black women. He looked down on black women. He revered white women. Like, it was just a very toxic mentality. And my friend realized in that moment, he said to me, he says, you know what? He was raised by my father. I didn't know my father. Like, I just met him and he's in his mid-30s. He was like, I always, wanted my dad around. I always wanted him in my life. He was like, but I realized in that moment that may not have been the best thing for me, because I could grow up with that fucked up mentality the way that he did. And so I say all that to say that sometimes you have to disconnect yourself from a situation, no matter how loyal you may feel to it. It may be a family member or what have you, such as your grandmother, but it may not be the healthiest for you. And it's okay for you to acknowledge that a situation is not healthy for you, even if it is your family. And don't think you have to stay in it because you're obligated by blood. So that's pretty much my view on it.
That's good advice, sis. So hopefully that helps you. Feel free to, hit us if you have any follow-up questions, or if there's anywhere else we could be a support to you. But we'll definitely be thinking about you and praying for you. And if you have, if anyone else, any of our other listeners, we get emails all the time.
Absolutely.
People who have messages and things that they would like to share with those individuals who send us entries for the honesty box, and we try to forward those along with permission, of course. So if you have something, if you're another listener and you're going through a similar situation, or you have a word of encouragement for this listener that you would like to share, let us know. Send us an email at gettinggrownpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to forward that message along. But yes, it's hopefully something said in this segment will be of help to you.
And I want to be very responsible of the things I say to my sister, because everybody know I can be real petty. P-E to the T-T-Y, honey.
Petty. It's time for petty peeves. So, you want me to go first, sis?
I would like for you to go first, because it's only right after you've sung us in.
I try, but like you said, when it's late and I'm tired, my vibrato gets wide.
It gets real wide and sloppy.
So my petty peeve this week actually comes from a listener, by the name of Timothy. And Timothy says, Dear Jade and Keia, mainly Jade for this one. This one goes out to the beautiful customers that come into restaurants 5 minutes before close. My Jesus is not pleased with you, and you need not, and you need to repent. As a chef and a man dating a woman that is a server at a different restaurant, there's nothing worse than having a table that walks 5 minutes before close, then takes 10 minutes to look at the menu and decides to order the most elaborate item on the menu. I completely understand that this is a customer service career field and that the goal is to ultimately make the customer happy, but I do not care. It takes no less than a blessed hour to really clean a kitchen. You deciding that you need to eat at the specific restaurant 5 minutes before close put the entire crew behind. It makes the manager have to pay us for the extra time we have to clean, and it means that we all have to now sit around and wait for you to finish eating so we can clean after you, which is just as awkward to me as it is frustrating. Again, I understand to most of y'all who are probably the terrorist ass people doing this type of stuff, it really doesn't matter that you walk in 5 minutes before close. But if you can sit down and expect a properly seasoned and properly cooked meal, is it too much to expect that you would come get that meal at a decent time? That really did resonate with me, because nothing was worse than a person coming into the club when I worked at the club and ordering a drink when we were getting ready to close in 5 minutes, and they didn't order a shot or a beer, something I can pour from a tap. They would walk in and order like black cherry infused martinis and mojitos and things I had to pull out ingredients and shake and muddle and stir, twist and twerk and whatever else. Like, they ordered all kinds of things that required multiple steps. And so, therefore, I do not appreciate you doing this. Please take heed to this wonderful young man by the name of Timothy Calhoun, who has let you all know how awful it is when you walk into a restaurant and order right before it's getting ready to close. What about you, sis?
That's actually really real. And shout out to Timothy. Yes. I've never worked in food service, but because I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I know that it's just not what the Lord would have me to do in my life. But I definitely can relate, having worked in retail and somebody wanting to come in and wreck and ruin your table that you just opened.
Nothing is worse.
By getting, pulling from the bottom and just destroying everything. And the store closes at 10 o'clock, and here come Missy Lynn at 9:58 to destroy your hard work.
Listen. And they don't think about the cleanup. Y'all don't think about, we got to break things down, put things up, wipe things off. Come on, y'all.
I was notorious. I would always ask for the vacuum cleaner when we were closing the store. So I would be vacuuming right at your ankles. I would vacuum your toes. I want you to know that it's time to go and you need to get out of the store.
You're going to hear Sheryl Crow from the speakers, and you're going to hear the
vacuum is going to be live and direct. I will vacuum your toes because you have to know that it's just time for you to
all
leave.
Around your ankles.
I too am going to read a petty peeve from one of our faithful listeners. This letter comes from Raven. Raven says, "Greetings, sisters in petty. I write to you today to express my gratitude for your labor, laughs, and love. As a fellow member of #Team Type and Fast, your podcasts have helped me through some long work hours. Anyway, I want to express a petty peeve. Semicolon. When folks act like they don't see you, sitting, standing somewhere, and walk in front of you or over you while you're having a conversation. Can you not say, 'Excuse me, where are your manners? Who raised you?' It especially angers me when white women or non-black women of color act like they don't see me. It takes restraint from Jesus, both Marys and Joseph. Come on, both Marys. So Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary Magdalene. All right.
Yes, and I know who all of them are.
Okay, girl. Show out then. Prove it. But we can talk about that later. Jesus, both Marys and Joseph, for me to not holler out, I know you see me standing here. I just needed to get that out. Thank you all for reading in petty solidarity, Raven. So I chose this one because this happened to Crystal and I this weekend. And I really felt some kind of way. We went to get pedicures in Harlem, right on 116th Street. And we were walking into the establishment, and there were some, we were at the nail place. We did not know that the lady worked in the nail place when we were out on the street. She just was a Asian woman. But Crystal opened the door, and the lady was standing, like she was coming from the opposite direction. So we're coming toward one another. Crystal opened the door so that she and I could come through. But the Asian lady just was talking to somebody else. It was two of them. Crystal opened the door. They just walked in front of Crystal like we opened the door for her. Never said, "Hey, cat, dog, boo, excuse me, excuse you." They never said anything. And I was instantly incensed. Like, I was just like, so it really makes me feel some kind of way. And, we went in and got served, and I was sitting there, and the lady who worked there who did it kept walking back and forth because she was getting things out of another room that was right across from where Crystal and I was sitting. And I was like, sis, I have to tell you, every time I see this lady, I just can't stop. I just can't get unmad because I'm like, this lady just acted like we wasn't standing there. And I am a woman of a particular size. I feel like at 5'10", nobody can say that they didn't see me. Like, you cannot say that you did not see me as big and black as I am standing right here. So I just felt some sort of way. And
she just make it for that pedicure.
I was like, bruh, did she really just like Crystal was the doorman. She literally opened the door, and the lady just walked through. And I'm just like, whoa. And she was like, yeah.
Wow.
Like, Crystal was like, yeah, that just happened.
I could hear
her too. They never said anything. Like, the two women that walked in, like, never said, excuse us or, or anything. They never even acknowledged us. It was just like we were there to open the door for them.
Yeah.
And I really had to keep myself from going upside that woman's head. Like, I literally could saw myself taking my foot.
You're just supposed to open the door, Miss Sophia.
I was just like, what? Yeah, so Raven, I get it, sis. Don't ever tell me, like, no, you see me. You better acknowledge me. Say excuse me. Like act like I'm here.
Say thank you, first of all. Let's really get to the meat and potatoes of this. Say thank you, because I opened the door for you. And the lady who didn't acknowledge the lady who worked there, anyway, I have my thoughts. But I just feel like it was the strength of the angels that carried me to not come to this pedicure with you all, even though I was supposed to be there. You all went without me. But it's fine.
Let's not say that like that's not your responsibility or your fault, because if you would like to lay out the receipts, I can furnish them.
What happened to family business?
What happened to it? You the one who opened this can of worms.
I was on.
Ma'am, you was on time one day. You was on time Saturday. We were supposed to get the pedicures on Friday. You still want to do this? You sure? You sure you want to do this right now? I think we should end the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you once again for listening to Getting Grown with Jade and Keia. You are just getting some more insight into our actual relationship. But this is why y'all love us, and this is why we love you. So thank you so much.
This is why we love each other.
Girl, I'm talking to the people.
We see each other.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. Thanks to everyone who came up and said hi to us at the live friend zone. Thanks to everyone who sends us all of the awesome tweets and Instagram comments and Facebook comments. We love you guys so much. Thank you guys for listening. You guys are listening like heck. And I just can't believe it. Every time I see our number, it's like, I'm just like, OMG. But thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode of Getting Grown with Jade and Keia. We will be back next week, sis. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we say goodbye?
No, thank you to thank you, as Keia said, thank you to the young lady who came to Santana's pop-up. It was wonderful chatting with you, and that constant support that we talked about in the beginning is just so beautiful to see. So I love it. I love seeing the community build. But we can close it out. Make sure you all are drinking your water,
minding your business, and staying moisturized, because your black will absolutely and in fact crack if it's dry. Bye. Good night. Bye, or good day, whenever y'all listen to this. Bye.